Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to my 100th video. Today we're at White Hills Cemetery in Bendigo and we're out the front of the cemetery here at the heritage listed gates. And what beautiful gates they are. The Bendigo goes back to the gold rush era of the 1800s and this cemetery was established to bury mostly the miners who came out here from various countries to try and find their fortune. Now, as we back out, we're going to just pan over to this massive tree, or trees. There's two of them. There's the other one. And the camera doesn't really do justice as to how big they really are. They are massive. They must be at least 150 years old. And we're looking around now in the Chinese section of the cemetery. And the first thing I noticed when I came into the cemetery was each cemetery has a mound, which I thought unusual. Apparently, Chinese tradition says that these have a mound because it's to ward off the evil spirits. If they sit on the mound, they just simply roll off. And what you see as headstones are actually footstones. The Chinese stones, or rather the Chinese, are buried with their feet to the stone, as opposed to others where it is a headstone. And as we come along a little bit further, we will see the funerary tower, which I believe was for some sort of cremation, but it's for offerings. It's for people to offer up things for their dead. Here is just a small section dedicated to the Jewish community of the area. You might want to pause if you want to have a read of that. Now, nearly all the headstones are in what I assume is Hebrew, so we can't read any of them. And here are some of the local priests of the area, including the first parish priest of White Hills, the Reverend Father John F. Wood, and the Right Reverend Monsignor Patrick O'Sullivan. Now, White Hills Cemetery was established in the mid-1800s. As I said, Bendigo was a big gold rush area, and people flocked from all over the world to try and find their fortune. Unfortunately, like all the gold rush areas of the time, conditions were very unsanitary, and unfortunately a lot of people died very young. And there's Margaret and John Dorr. We've noticed that this cemetery has a lot of spaces in between the graves, a lot more than we've found at other cemeteries. And we think the reason for this is that people came out here, they were poor, trying to find their fortune, and they had no family here. They left family behind in whichever country they came from, passed away, and were just buried in the ground with no markers. Hence the reason for so much land in between all these graves. Catherine Daly passed away in 1922. Now, as we come up to this grave, you'll see a grave in the background, just to the right. That grave is of a lady by the name of Mary McCarthy. Now, as you'll see, as we come up to it, we'll zoom in. And my great buddy Steve, who's along with me today, he'll point out that Mary McCarthy passed away in 1873 at the age of 114 years. Fantastic effort for that era. 114, that's amazing. As you can see here, where there's a lot of space, and this is what I was talking about. I'm sure there are just people buried everywhere without markers. And I still, every time I go to a cemetery, find it amazing how some graves stand the test of time, can be over 100 years old, 150 maybe, and some just fade away to nothing. You just can't read them anymore. And this one's a perfect example of standing up to the test of time. James, Mary Raleigh, and John Walter. This cemetery is just on the outskirts of Bendigo, between Bendigo and White Hills, and it is beautifully maintained. It's certainly very well looked after, and it's in a very quiet area, lots of trees, and it's very peaceful. This grave I love. This is Maxwell Stevens, and come and sit and have a chat. I'll listen. I really think that's great. And this monument we're coming up to here, this monument is the largest monument in the cemetery. And again, the camera doesn't really do it justice as to how big and how tall it is. The monument was erected in memory of Major Robert Moorhead, who was in the Prince of Wales Regiment in the Light Horse Brigade. Unfortunately, the plaque is just a little bit hard to read. And when Steve and I arrived at the cemetery today, we met a gentleman by the name of Adrian. Now, Adrian is a member of the Australian Chinese Association in Bendigo, and he has descendants buried in the Chinese section. And he told us all the information that I relayed earlier about the mounds and the funerary tower and the footstones. And Adrian was a very interesting man who had a lot of valuable information, and he was quite happy to share his experiences with us. So thanks, Adrian. I really appreciated it, and it was fantastic having a chat with you. Thank you. I wanted to also give a shout out once again to my great buddy Steve, who is always along for the ride. Steve's a great support, gives me advice on editing and other things. It would be a boring sort of a day without Steve there to have a chat and have lunch afterwards. So Steve, look forward to a lot more of these. Thanks, mate. Well, that's about it for me. I'm just going to leave you now with a little bit of a view around the cemetery. Thank you for being with me for my 100th video. It's been a great ride. I've enjoyed doing all these videos, and there is a lot more to come, a lot more cemeteries to do, a lot more other places around Victoria, and I will get around to them as the weather gets warmer. So thanks, everybody. Please like and subscribe. Leave me a comment on what you think, and we'll catch you on the next one. Enjoy the rest of the video. Bye for now.